Hi guys, welcome to our new podcast, No Bullshit Gymcast. So this is my special guest, Paul Meldrum, all the way from Oz. This guy is a legend down there. And if I don't know it, he knows everything else. So guys, welcome. Welcome, Paul. So
Thank you very much for that kind intro.
that's all right, mate. Give me a little bit of intro of yourself, background, so everyone can understand obviously the stuff I know about you. We've worked together previously in the past. So yes, let everyone have it.
All right. Well, I started off in the fitness industry about 21 years ago as a personal trainer in big box commercial gym, very, very long time ago. Obviously, so before the times of Instagram and Facebook, and I was doing this before that stuff existed. And I was very lucky in that where I was very fortunate to be able to choose a niche that led to success very quickly. It was all via just dumb luck. So the gym I was working with was actually attached to an RSL club. So if you're not in Australia, it's basically where old people go to drink alcohol at cheaper prices. And the membership there was older people, and they've all got niggles and aches and stuff like that. So I got mentored by a trainer who was really, really good at rehab. So very quickly, I was able to build a very successful business in that particular facility. And within 2 years, I had one national trainer a year because the results I was getting from clients pretty good. Did that twice, which was fun. From there, I was able to hire four trainers working underneath me in that one facility and practice multiple facilities. And after 3 years, I had jack of it all. The commercial gym environment is very taxing for a period of time. And I then went out myself and did kind of like a whole bunch of rehab and clinical rehabilitation work with lots of different people. Ended up opening up five gyms in Sydney, five gyms in Sydney over time, like all just basically bigger ones again and again and again. And I was mentoring trainers the whole time. So I've worked with Olympians, I worked with bodybuilders, I've worked with rehab cases, I've worked in musical theatre and TV, with a bunch of actors. And then when COVID kind of hit, at that point the gym was shut down, and I decided to move online. Like as soon as COVID actually happened, where Chris knows the gym that I worked at the time, I was able to shift very, very quickly into the online space. And since then, so 2020, I've been training clients online and teaching personal trainers how to work with people online and also how to get better results. That's the shortened version of it without all the bullshit that went happened through that
Yeah,
gym.
I know quite a lot of the detail in there. So yes, guys, this guy is phenomenal at what he does. And yes, we won't mention that mutual gym that we both know in Sydney. So for the guys out there in Sydney, they probably know who it is, but we'll
More than
leave it
likely.
or him, yes, or her, whichever. So, Paul, tell me, obviously you're mentoring a lot of coaches now and PTs. What is the main thing you find now? Do you find there's a lot of over promise in results and under delivering from both sides of it, i.e. client side as well as PT or coach side?
Yeah, so by the client side, you mean like the PT mentors that are coaching people, and
Yeah,
you also mean the PTs with their actual clients.
clients, yeah.
Um, yep, both. Both sides are very, very guilty of over-promising and under-delivering all the time. And the reason for that I believe is it's like inherently we want everyone who's doing this business like at some point wanted to help people. That's why we do it. And at some point that mission gets lost, and we feel that money becomes more important, and money is absolutely important, and like making sales is really, really important, but being honest in what we offer people is the most important thing that we can do. And it happens on both sides. So I see this very often in the PT education thing, where it's like, oh yeah, and as little as 3 to 4 hours a week, you're going to be making, $10,000 a month, and that's a load of shit. Particularly in the online world because it's extremely competitive. There's like 500,000 online trainers at rough estimate who are all inherently selling the exact same product, and the product we're all selling is training programs and nutrition with accountability. We go about it in different ways, but the product is inherently the same. And that mindset and also that approach carries over to how trainers sell to their clients. And realistically, with our clients, we're all selling the same product, just hitting different niches and different avatars and different people. And because we're desperate to make money, which we are, we generally have a tendency to, as an industry, to overpromise and then underdeliver. And there is a aspect of the client's responsibility in that as well. When I'm referring to personal trainers working with clients, clients need to do the work to get the outcome. We can't guarantee anything because we can't guarantee that that client's going to get off their ass and get in the gym and lift heavy weights. And we also can't guarantee that when they get off, if they do get off their ass, get in the gym and lift heavy weights, that they're actually tracking the macros properly, that they're actually training with some degree of intensity and like quality. We can't guarantee that stuff. And there's a lot of steps that you need to take as a coach and as a client to get the best results. So like one thing I do now with all my clients is like, I want one set per exercise per workout sent to me, just so I know that you're not sandbagging your lifts, as an example. And then all those guys, they get the results that they're kind of after. So massive problem with over delivery. I think the main issues are a lack of, like, there's a scarcity in the market and a huge degree of competition, which is what people are trying to get by. And is it right? It's wrong. It is wrong. Like, we can just go from there. But trying to work it out, it's a very hard thing to sort that out.
Yeah, I agree. So if you were to give one bit of sound advice to, say, a PT or a coach online who's got, say, a difficult client, who will give an example, say, for instance, that PT set them out with a exercise of lat pull down, and it's 4 sets,
Yep.
4 or 5 sets, and rep range is 10 to 15. And
Yep.
you see them logged the record at all 5 sets or all 4 sets at 15 reps. And you pull them up on it and ask them and say, right, such and such, Joe Blogs, whoever, why are you not progressing in your lifting? And their reply is, well, I'm lifting as much as I can for all 5 sets, exactly the same weight the whole way through. So a little bit of advice on that.
All right, cool. So if the first thing, just for the listeners, is if you can lift the same weight for all 5 sets, it's not, you're not pushing any of those sets to what we would term as a stimulating rep. Stimulating reps are the last reps of a set, because what happens is, particularly if you're looking at the 10 to 15 rep range, because you won't be targeting your fast twitch 2B muscles until your fast twitch type 1s are fatigued anyway. So the majority of those sets at that point, unless you're pushing hard, probably aren't going to be hypertrophic at all. Minimally hypertrophic, we'll call it that, because you're still doing something. So my first thing, if a client is doing that, the first thing I'll do if they're sandbagging is I'll ask them, do you think you can do more? And they'll often say, no, that's my absolute max capacity. And I'll say, can you film a set? Because I want to see evidence first of how they're training and how they're doing it before anything happens. 9 times out of 10, when they send the set, you can very clearly point out to them on video evidence that sets, reps number 7, 8, 15 all look the same. And any good trainee, anyone who's trained hard knows that the last rep of the set should look pretty different to the first rep of the set based on the effort that is required to complete it. So if I ever see a client sends me a video, the client sending a video of their squats recently, and I've asked them to increase their concentric tempo. She sends the set and it's like 40 kilos. I'm like, you can do more. No, I couldn't do more. Couldn't possibly do more. Bullshit. Put 45 kilos on the bar. Do the set. Film it. Send it to me. Do you notice in the video you didn't slow down? Yeah, I didn't really slow down. Hey, cool. Let's do 50. And like within that session, via online coaching, she went from 40 to 60 kilos. Now, the downside of that is I had to respond to her a lot to get that across the board, but she was able to then have that and then take that mindset across to the rest of her training. So first thing is get the video to get evidence, because video never lies. The second thing for that is actually, I always will program in a rep range for a client, and I will always say you should fit within the rep range and you should do less as the sets progress, and that is totally okay and totally valid. If you are doing it wrong. And then I'll use generally analogy with them, which would be like, do you think that you should get more or less tired as you train more? And they'll go, I should get more tired. Okay, cool. Awesome. So why is the first set and the last set exactly the same? Do you think you push yourself to the actual limit because you didn't have any decrease in performance? No. Okay. let's try again. Next week, your weight that you had in the butt, let's say it's 50 kilos, just for easy maths. Next week, I want you to do 60 kilos. Just start with 60 kilos and we'll see what happens. Cool. If they do 60 kilos and then they see that form drop, then you go, guess what? Now you're hitting at the right level. More often than not, you'll actually see that they're still sandbagging at that goddamn weight.
Yeah.
So you go, all right, cool, we're going to go to 70. So it needs to be like nearly a collaborative process. And I always like tell my clients at the beginning when they start with me now, I'm going to ask you to film a lot of sets. Of course, I want to see if you're training actually hard. In real life, this problem can be solved like that. It's very, very quick. I remember at said gym in Sydney where I was training a bunch of clients, and I had a client 100 kilos in the leg press, and this guy had legs on him. Like he jack calves, jack quads, etc. I just naturally jack legs. And he did a set of 10 at 100 kilos in the leg press. And I walked up to him and I said, what's this bullshit? And he's like, oh, it's really hard. I was like, really? Like, are you sure? Like, you 100% sure that was hard? He's like, yeah, really, really hard work. Look, I'm sweating. I was like, okay, first of all, it's 30 degrees. You're sweating. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch you do every, can I swear?
Yeah, of course, mate. Crap.
Every fucking rep that I'm going to watch every fucking rep and I'll tell you when to stop. And at rep 40, I walked away, disgusted and bored, because he had that much more left in the tank. I was like, you literally did 4 times the volume of what you did in the last set because you were being soft. And he's like, all right, I get what hard training is now. Next set workout, he upped the weight to like 180 kilos, nearly doubled it. And then he kept on going up to around 240. So a lot of the time it's getting the client to A, see it visually, B, understand that it's okay, and then C, give them actually permission to train really freaking hard and actually to feel it. And once people feel it a couple of times, you fall in the 1 or 2 camps. They do it forever or they never touch it again and they quit.
Yeah.
I generally prefer the first option.
Yeah, clearly. Same here. I've just had a few clients just like that. We've upped their program and they've come back and gone, oh my God. Now I'm training. And you're like, yeah, now you're training. So, obviously we're on the topic of training, etc. at the moment. Is now, do you find a lot of people are starting to it's sort of, I'm seeing it a lot more. People are bringing around the one size fits all program back in, do the bro split, push pull legs. And then you've got others absolutely annihilating push pull legs, saying it's a sack of shit. In your opinion, what I base it on every individual client. Some clients are on push-pull legs because they only want to train 3 days a week and we want to try to get it all in. They're not competitors. They're just average gym pop. Where some people are like, no, I want to do 5 days a week, bosh, do the old school single body part, or we double parts up. What are you doing at the moment with the majority of your clients, and what's your thoughts on this?
Cool. So I'll answer that with a question. I assume you like all the fatigue goblins that are existing on Instagram and stuff right now saying anything like, and they're giving everyone 4 to 8 reps with a long rest period.
Yeah. So that little so that old school way, very old school way of the 4 to 8s, the 6 to 8s, it's come back to fashion. It's amazing. No.
Yeah.
I saw that 20 years ago. I did that 20 years ago. It's like my old friend John Hodgson, IFBB pro bodybuilder, right? Very good friend of Dorian Yates, says, old school. What is wrong with the old school ways? This guy is in his 50s now, still ripped, and literally has the same food every single day. Boring food, repeat, and rinse. Why are we all trying to invent the freaking wheel again? 4 to 6, 4 to 8, that was around in 1816, you know what I mean?
It's been around for forever,
Yeah. So it seems like there is this, the old-fashioned wheel of like, oh yeah, it's a bit like back in the day. Remember the Bosu ball?
Yep.
came out, we've got to do bicycle squats whilst with 100K on our back. You know what I mean? And that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think people are trying to rinse this new way again and then saying, oh, I'm fatigued, I'm broken. Well, you've been
Yeah.
training.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it, on splits and stuff for clients. So with the one size fits all, I will say there is a actual place for it, and that's beginners.
Mm.
Okay. And the reason for that is in beginners, with beginners, we kind of want to look at the fact that they've never trained before, so they're going to adapt to anything pretty well. And we don't really know how they're going to respond to training. Some people might have a high capacity for volume, some people might have a high capacity for intensity. We don't really know till we see. So with a beginner, like you could make a pretty good standing with a really good rep and set range that could fit across the board for multiple people, change the exercise selection based on their capacity and their ability to train. Like a beginner's probably not going to do a barbell back squat or barbell front squat day one. Talking about like total generic beginner. And they might have some injuries that you may need to work around. Cool. That's totally fair, I think, to use a protocol-based approach in those circumstances. With social media, how it is and how it kind of really dictates training is that trends come through all the time. So currently the trend now is to go back to this. It's interesting because like 2 years ago, it was like, let's get up to 52 sets of volume per week. It was like volume, volume, volume. It's like, fuck me. If you've ever actually trained legs properly, if you do 52 sets in a week, that's actually bonkers. Like to get progressive overload, unless you're on all the gears. With the current thing, which is, all right, we're going to go the opposite way, and any accumulation of calcium ions is going to cause huge amounts of systemic fatigue, and we got to stay one rep in reserve for everything. Look, I did the one arm tricep push down. I stopped one rep so I don't get too fatigued. Seriously, the point of training is to get somewhat fatigued.
Well, how do they know their level of fatigue, right? It's like, wait a second.
How do you measure it?
It's 4 to 8. No, I'm stopping it. I'm stopping at 8 because I know if I go to 9, I'm broken. How do you know you're going to be broken at 9 reps? You don't. You know, have you done the eccentric movements in any of those 8 reps properly? Probably not.
Yep,
Have you done
exactly.
eccentric effort properly in those 8 to 9 reps properly? Probably not.
Probably not. And these guys as well, they all say, oh, time under tension is like a crappy metric, yet they all control their eccentric. So why are you doing it? Like it's really crazy to watch the amount of cognitive dissonance that these coaches have in this field, which is just, it's bonkers to me. So what I do practically is for a lot of clients, I would look at a couple of different things. It may get a little bit heavy here, so forgive me in advance if I talk. Just pull me in, just pull my head in. With some clients, like if we're going to look at different sport demands, they need to have different energetic demands across the board, and that's fine. What I'll generally do with the client when they're training is after their first 1 or 2 mesocycles, I want to try and figure out where they're weaker. And the reason why I'm trying to figure out where they're weaker is if they don't have competitive bodybuilding aspirations, or they don't look like they could have competitive bodybuilding aspirations after 2 years of training, they're not going to be a successful competitive bodybuilder, particularly in the male world. Like, there's no chance. Like, Lee Priest looked amazing at 17. So let's not worry about that. Because when you got the genetically elite, you could literally give them, like, fuck, go for a row and a swim and they'll get jacked, right? When we're working with general population, what we need to do if they want to maximize their physique is figure out where they're weak bioenergetically, whether it's like glycolytic processes or fat oxidative processes or anaerobic glycolysis, whatever, creatine phosphate stuff, like where they're weak. And that's where we can really see the most kind of physique goals. So I'm working with a client at the moment who's a hard gainer. I'm spending the vast majority of my time literally increasing his volume and his metabolic capacity because he's fatigued. He's one of these guys who gets fatigued, like, reading a book. If he listens to this, he's going to be so upset. But he gets fatigued, like holding his arms up, reading a book, right? He's got very low endurance capacity. And what that's doing is, and this is where we lean into individualization, his lack of capacity there stops him from lifting heavy shit and recovering between sets. Yeah. He'll do 1-2 sets of heavy legs and he's fucked. His whole workout right after that is terrible. So for him, I individualize based on his limiting factor, which is his work capacity. Now, in terms of split and how I'll organize that, I'll generally go very similar to you. If it's an absolute beginner, I'm absolutely cool with full body. Okay. For absolute beginners, because they're learning like how to lat pull down, squat and stuff. Then I'll move to upper lower, or the push pull legs, or the split that basically body part split. Sometimes I'll do like if it's a 5 day split, I might do push chest emphasis, pull legs quad emphasis, for example. Then I might do push shoulder emphasis after a rest day, and then back hamstring emphasis. And with those types of splits there, a little bit of what does the client actually like in that stuff, because if they like it, and we know they have the potential to become Mr. O, cool. As long as their volume's equated across the course of a week and they're training hard, there was difference in results is going to be like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not going to be able to see a difference in like someone's hypertrophy. Oh, you trained your triceps twice this week with 2 sets per workout, but you did 4 sets in one workout. Oh, you look smaller. I can't tell. Like the amount of muscle they're gaining is negligible. So I will basically, once they're in intermediate, I'll go, cool. What's the split that fits into your schedule? What do you kind of like doing? Some people I work with hate the idea of a leg day. I don't like those people, but they don't, because I love leg days, but they don't like the idea of just doing purely like, trashing their quads for an hour. It's not their idea of a good time. Cool. We can still get them a training outcome. So with the split, I individualize based on their feedback. I don't think there's any perfect split. If I was going to put in a hierarchy of what we needed to hit, I would say execution and intensity number one. Yeah. Any lift across the board. I don't give a shit if you train full body. If you could train full body 3 times a week and you were doing hack squats with 200 kilos worth of plates on the thing, 3 sets of 8 to 12, 3 times a week, which you're a psycho, but you'd have big fucking legs, yeah. Right? And that's cool because your training intensity and execution is at a very high level. From there, I would look at as my next main variable being, are they doing the recovery on the other sides outside of the gym? Like, are they eating their protein, going to sleep, blah, blah, blah. And then the other stuff, I'll individualize it based on what the client wants to do in terms of their schedule and life, and then go from there. So no real preference, but what we find with the majority of individualization over time is, what does the client actually like to do? Okay, that fits into it. What do they suck at? Because we need to address what they suck at, because for most people, like if you're elite, like if you're an elite basketball player, like a 3-point shooter, you just show up the weaknesses, the person's got like a contract guaranteed. That's what we want to do with our athletes. And number 3 is if they have any kind of structural issues that stop them from doing a particular lift, cool. As long as you're targeting that body part, it's cool. Like I know with you, when I worked with you, your knees are shit due to previous stuff, right? Cool. So guess what? I'm not going to give you barbell lunges straight into walking squats, because your limiting factor is not your muscles there. It's going to be your tendons are going to fall off.
Yeah.
And that's how I address the question of splits and individualizing people.
Oh, cool. I totally agree. I base it like, I try to put it as what's their lifestyle. In my base questions, always ask their lifestyle and what's their commitment to going to that gym or to a gym or doing the exercises, and then base my split around what they are willing, and I mean to the T, committed to. If someone says, oh yeah, I'm quite happy to do 5 days a week, and you're going to put out a 5-day split of whatever it could be, newbie to experience, and they're only turning up at gym 3 times a week, you're sort of like shooting yourself in the foot. So that's how I base it on. But yes, obviously the rest of it, intensity, commitment, structure, all those sorts of things come into play. Leading on from that, obviously programming and PTs, coaches, alleged coaches. I've done my qualifications with a cereal box. Oh yeah, neutral grain specials. And for all you guys who aren't in Australia, who don't know what neutral grain is, it's probably one of the best cereals in the world. But
pretty awesome.
But you'll only know if you ever live there.
That's right.
I'm going to go on to this topic, and this is probably going to be a bit of a sensitive one, is credentials and qualifications and certifications. Now, I am absolutely, dicked off with this industry, and putting it in my politest PC way, is I have, obviously I'm online, doing my coaching online. I gave up face-to-face back in 2018 when I was up on the Gold Coast. But I am sick to death of seeing and listening to little pubescent idiots or old dears who think they've done a qualification in 6 weeks. I can jump online because I've got a transformation, or I look vaguely all right, but I can dance around on TikTok and think they can go and charge the earth for online training, and they know jack shit. And the advice that they give out on macros, on food. I know an influencer who's got millions living in Dubai. And if you put it this way, if this person, and she does listen to this, I don't really care if you come for me on this one, but your ill advice on how you decide to eat your food, and you're influencing all these women. Not everyone's built like a twig like you are, love. You know, some people, you're putting all this information out and saying, oh, yes, we can eat what I like, da, 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 da. I don't have to track my macros. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I only train X amount of times a week. We genetically aren't like you. But you're putting this information out there to all these other deers who are going to go and try to think, oh, I'm just going to eat healthily, but it doesn't matter how much I have. As long as it's this, it don't matter. I'm sick to death of people.
It's a major issue. And the problem with online coaching, the challenge with it is there is actually still no barrier to entry. You don't even need to do your cereal box qualification. If you have an Instagram account, you are an online coach if you say so. It's like one of the only few fields in the world that if you say it exists, it exists. You can speak it into existence. I can go and create a new account right now. I could create an AI avatar of someone, and I could say I'm an online coach and sell someone in the next like 24 hours, in theory. And I could tell them whatever the hell I wanted to do, and I could charge money for it. And like, I actually was bewildered a couple of years ago when all the dialogue around anabolic steroids really started. People were talking about on Instagram and talking about what cycles they were taking and what they'd recommend to people and answering Q&As. And some really good coaches are doing them too. So don't think it's all like some people who are very knowledgeable. But I was like, I can't believe that people are going to watch an Instagram story and decide I'm going to do a 4-week trend cycle doing 25 milligrams every 4 days. Like, that kind of shit blew my mind that people would do that. And I think for the online coaching space, we're not going to be able to solve the problem of what's happening, because people are always going to go enter in with the lowest barrier entry. They're always going to do stupid shit, and there's always going to be some dumb person saying something dumb that is blessed with good abs and nice hair and good skin, photographs well, who will be able to charge money. There's a couple ways that we can get around this. Number one is, if you're a customer trying to get an online coach and like thinking of working with a coach and getting trained, there's a couple of questions that you ask the coach. Show me a bunch of transformations that aren't just you. Number one. Okay. Because like, if someone's trained a bunch of people and got some transformations besides themselves that aren't genetically gifted, they're probably okay at what they do. Like, it's a pretty fair assumption to make. The next one is, have you ever had any experience in training people in real life yourself? And I think training in real life should be the rule of thumb that you have to do for online coaching first. I think you should absolutely have some skin in the game. You should have got some bar equity. You should have also trained a ton of people before you move to the online space, because it's hard to get people a result in real life. It's much harder to get them a result online, because you can't, as I already said before.
Mate, I'm gonna come back and defend the alleged online people. I've been told so many PTs, so many business mentors, not mentioning a certain brand who's now based in Dubai.
CJ?
Huh?
Start with C and surname with J?
No. Starts with C and ends in B.
Okay, right.
Yes. So basically, it's apparently you should be able to get someone in better shape online than you can face to face. Now,
See, no, it's bullshit.
okay, so between you and I, we have got like face to face best part of what, nearly 40 years of experience, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In your opinion, okay, yes, I've got someone on the Arnold Classic stage, right? Yes, you've done X, Y, and Z with Olympians, etc., 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 like models, you name it, in Australia. How many of the people would you say, out of the majority of the 21 years you've been doing it, have you got face to face in the best shape compared to online?
Significantly more. Significantly more. Like a matter of like factors of like 10, right?
Yeah.
And here's the reason. In real life, if I'm coaching someone, I can immediately tweak their form in whatever exercise I want to, therefore target the target muscle. Here's the question anyone can ask. Answer. Do you train harder when you're training by yourself or when you're training with a gym buddy? And everyone will say they train harder with a gym buddy.
100%.
Like 100%. Like they train with someone else. Like,
It's that
and
natural competition. It's natural
it's a
competition.
natural competition. And I would say, like, I occasionally have workouts where I train better by myself than I've ever trained with other people, right?
Yeah.
But that's occasional. That's not the rule. That's the outlier. So, like the other day, I had a shits about something. I hit an all-time deadlift PB at 260 kilos, and then did a whole bunch of belt squats at like 250, like some freaking heavy belt squats, and probably the best leg workout I've had in a long, long time. Again, that doesn't happen every single time. I can guarantee that if I was coaching someone in real life 4 times a week versus them training online 4 times a week, the person at the end of the 4 weeks would feel better structurally because everything would be done based on their biomechanics. I can guarantee their strength levels would be significantly higher because they have someone else saying, "Nah, bro, you're bitching out that weight, lift more," and they would hit the rest. All the variables would be followed. That we actually intend to program, plus all the little tips and tricks that we kind of love to do, as you know, throwing an extra drop set in every now and then, and stuff that you just wouldn't do by yourself. That I think does make a significant impact. So if you do stuff online, you can absolutely get a really good result. But here's the kicker: I did this put together this protocol a year or so ago. No, over 2 years ago, called the client level system. It was very cleverly named. Seriously, I need to workshop that. But basically, it divided clients into level 1, 2, 3. And a level 1 client is general pop client, never been to the gym. They don't know. They think peanut butter is a good source of protein. They know nothing about food. I don't think they're bad people for not knowing that. That's just where they are. And cool. So I can guarantee that those people, which are the vast majority of the people that trainers work with, can benefit more from in-person PT than online because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Now, the next level is level 2, which are people that go to the gym 3-4 times a week consistently. They're familiar with calories. They're familiar with macros. If you say, what's the difference between a Bulgarian split squat and a walking lunge, they'll be able to tell you. They've got some skin in the game, and it's a habit and a routine that they get into. It's not the most important thing in the world yet. They can get good results online. They'll always do better with a better session because they could always probably push themselves a little bit further. Now, the level 3 client is the type of client whose fitness training is a top 3 priority in their life. Okay, so either they want to be a competitor or they just take it uber seriously for whatever reason. They're the ones who thrive with online training because they're already self-motivated. They love going to the gym. They're going to push themselves very hard. But like all the level 3s I've worked with, like I'll actually, in different states, for example, in Australia, I'll say go do a session with a coach every now and then, just so you can actually get properly pushed to that, because human nature is to find the path of least resistance. So even like myself, I remember when a couple of weeks ago, I was training at a powerlifting gym nearby, and it was, had 250 on the bar, and I picked it up and it didn't really budge. I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm out for the day. And the owner of the gym, who's got like a very, very, he's a very strong deadlifter. Although my goal now is to beat him because he exists. See, competition. He looked at me and he said, "You're going to pick up that fucking weight now. You gave up." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Pick it up!" Like yelled at me. And I was like, "Okay." And like then he coached me through it. He just screamed at me basically. But I did a lift I normally would not do. So, and I would consider myself to be in that level 3 category of client. So every single person can do better. Online, particularly great for level 3 self-motivated client or clients that fall under a very specific niche where the coach has a level of subject matter expertise where they can solve those problems online. So something like blood sugar regulation or testosterone optimization or something like that, thriving online, because you can give more support more frequently than you can with in-person training for that particular, because they need support, not sessions. So 9 times out of 10, in-person will get the better result. Online has its particular place, and which is why I still even now, I train a few people. Like I do both.
I get that. But do you feel like with the whole online lack of credentials, lack of certification, it's literally the easiest way ever? I'm just going to make some money on the side and I don't care what I do.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't answer that question. I got carried away with something else. Yeah, people try and do it. And you know what? We see a few key people succeed. They're the influencers because they're attractive, they're pretty, and they get people in because they look the way they look, or they're really fucking good at marketing. The vast majority of people who do that fail bitterly miserably because they don't know what the hell they're doing. And at the end of the day, if you can't get someone a result in any form of coaching, you are going to lose eventually. And this is the only like solace I take in it is the fact that the vast majority of people who open up an online coaching business who aren't qualified, who don't know what they're doing, who have never trained someone in real life, will not be doing it within 3 months because they failed so miserably and they need to live.
Yeah, I get that. But I just personally find it's just ridiculous. Like somebody who has done their own body transformation, fine, I get that, awesome. But to then come out online less than a year later after your, not even a year after your transformation, so you've not even sustained that for a year. I've done my transformation, I've had my photo shoot, now look at me. Oh yeah, you know what, you should go online, start your online business. Yeah, great idea. And then think that they're honestly worth 300 and, like, say for instance over here in the UK, 350 quid a month, or like say back in Oz, $700 a month.
It's just wild.
It's crazy. But there are some what I call mugs out there who take it and bite it, and I'm like, are you for real?
Yeah, and that's again, the people that are selling them are really good at marketing and they're pretty, and and it sucks. Don't really have an answer for it. How I look at it is, I look at it's like going to sex therapy from someone who just lost their virginity. Like it's it's not really, you're not really going to get a good answer. You're going to get some shitty ass information, which doesn't really work. And man, it is a problem. My goal with what
you not get frustrated with it yourself?
Yeah, I get frustrated with it, but I know that me by myself, I can't change it. So generally, even with my students who are qualified in-person trainers, I say for your first online client, you're going to do it for free because you need to learn how to deliver that skill. So my whole thing is my whole education platform now is for online trainers to help them become good at training, to give them the templates, to give them the programs, to give everything they need is actually totally free. Because the only way that I can affect change in that is there's no one in this world who's got enough power to basically say, hey, you loser who's done this, you're not allowed to do this. Like the internet's unregulated, right? Yeah. So I'm never going to change it. The best I can do is give people all the tools who actually are doing it a chance to actually get better, to get results, because it's not like there's a lack of people out there who need to get coached. There's 7 billion people who could benefit. All I can do is go, all right, cool. It bothers me, but the only solution I got is to actually give away all my shit for free to actually help people get better.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. So do you feel now, like moving on from that, but still the skill set that they need is poor communication and support of clientele?
Man, I had this conversation. So I did another podcast last week, and it was the question I was asked: how to become the best personal trainer in the world, like basically either online or in person. And I've got the notes like literally on my computer right here. And I said, like, out of that, number 1, 6, and 2 were all based around communication. So being personable and charismatic to an extent. Okay. basically being able to communicate with people and get them to trust you, being able to deliver quickly, so efficiency in your business systems and communicate that, and then marketing and sales, which is basically communication. And the vast majority of trainers are absolutely terrible at selling and communicating to their clients. Where what happens, and I fell into this trap, like I'm very open about this. For the first 13 years of my career, I didn't give a shit about how I said things to client. I just said to clients, I just gave a shit about being right
Mm.
and giving the right information, right? And what I found is the following. When I worked with rehab patients or sickness type people, awesome results all the time. Really, really good. Because if someone's sick, for example, or someone needs rehab, you give them the right stuff, they get better.
Yeah.
It's not a hard train of thought. Now, you can say to any single person how to lose weight. And like weight loss inherently is simpler than some complicated orthopedic injury. It's calories in, calories out. Move a little bit more. Eat food that you like
Well, that's
in good
debatable.
portions.
That's debatable to some, influencers in this world. It's not all about calories in,
That's true.
calories out.
Calories don't exist, do they? Right? The second law of thermodynamics don't apply to humans clearly.
Yeah, no,
Um,
not at all.
physics is a lie.
Yeah,
The world's flat.
yeah.
With
No, it's a
and
try.
it's a try. Fuck, is that the new one? Oh, you know why? Illuminati.
Yeah.
But with with that, my weight loss results and body transformation ones were nowhere near as good as the other stuff. And the problem is, I wasn't good at communicating to clients in a way that actually got them to buy into shit. Because the pain of losing like 5 kilos is not as significant as the pain of having like a nearly broken back. So when at year 13, I was like, why the hell? I'm like, I know I'm right because of what the data is and applying it to myself and the people who follow it work well. Why is it not working for so many people?
Mm.
And I figured because I was a shit communicator. That was literally, I was like, wow, I just suck at talking to people. Like I could be friendly with them and all that kind of stuff and create rapport, but I couldn't do change talk. I
Mm.
just couldn't do it. It just wasn't in my thing. I just didn't understand that for some people, knowing the information isn't enough for some people. They need to understand it and they need to apply it to their situation and
Mm.
they need to have that intrinsic motivation to change and apply it to themselves. So I studied that for the next 7 years also. And I still look at stuff like that every day. And in the online space, we see this where coaches think, and this is where you'll see this with the cereal box cowboys,
Mm.
that giving client a macro plan, giving the client or a standard food, standard meal prep plan that has no respect for how that client is, a standard program with no deviations from the norm, and one check-in a week via text is enough for people to get awesome results. And it for a level 3 client, probably because they'll just do whatever the hell you say because they trust you and they're capable. But for the vast majority of people, it's just really shit coaching.
Mm. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, communication like so key for people.
It is. But on the other hand, like I've had this said to me this week from a client, and I really don't care if this client actually hears this. Yeah, apparently checking in on your client when they've been ill and they suffer from other things other than fatigue and illness. Checking in on them on a daily basis for like 3 or 4 days is like over the top behavior apparently. So I was like, right, okay. I find it really hard that all my other clients would be like, cheers, thanks very much. And you've taken it like that by asking a simple question. How are you today?
So some clients are just, and this is every like some clients, some colleagues, some other coaches. There's always a shitty egg in every dozen, right?
Right.
And yeah, and some people you'll find it that they're never satisfied no matter what you do because if you don't check in the next time they're sick, they probably haven't done enough.
Yeah.
Um, so there's always some asshole, whether it's another coach or a client, and like the vast majority of clients that I work with are delightful. They're all cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
they're great people to work with. I like them. I'd have a beer with them. That's the test I use, even though I don't really drink beer. It's an Australian thing, right? I'd have a beer with that person. They're all right then. With those people, I find there's two ways to go about it. I find, all right, cool. What communication would you like to have? What boundaries would you like? And we'll just follow that, and that's it. And
mm,
never break that again. Or if we say that and it's still not enough, I would actually go, all right, cool. I don't think I'm the right fit for you. Our coaching styles won't work. So I'm going to waive our cancellation fee and we can finish up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone's like a total head case, like relative to you, they might be great for someone else. Not to make everyone feel terrible about themselves. It's sometimes easier for both parties just to go, you know what, we're just literally structurally not a good fit.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's just when someone goes on the personal attack and you've heard them state other things about other coaches, it's now, even though it's like, yeah, I've been online for a while, fair few years, but it's a case of now I'm drawing up like boundary lines. If I suddenly hear that in the get go, I'm just gonna go red flag straight up.
Yeah.
If they're gonna start slagging their previous coach off to then say, oh well, yeah, I can't wait to work with you, and then the next minute you're getting this in your head, sort of red
I
flags.
learned something. I learned something a while ago, and particularly with hiring staff, and like it applies to everything. And it's people show their colors very quickly.
Mm.
They absolutely show their colors very quickly. And there was an illustration that I would have from that would be I remember I hired a staff member and like he was a client beforehand. This is when I had the gym and we had 12 coaches. He had been working at a franchise thing and he wanted more money and we could obviously pay him more money. We were better. And I was like, yeah, this guy's all right. Let's give him a chance. Let's get him in there. He interviewed well and all that type of stuff, which is it's easy to interview well if you know how to speak. You just say all the right things and you're happy days. And then what happened was he, on his first shift, he showed up 10 minutes late, which was okay to an extent, just because I was like, all right, cool, shit happens. I'm never going to make an assumption about stuff until I understand why. Because, car might have broken down, tire might have done, like, misestimated the drive, like, stuff can happen. I'm pretty reasonable. But then instead of apologizing and getting on the floor and starting to coach people and asking where he needed to be, he went and made a coffee first thing. And I was like, you've told me exactly who you are. And against my better judgment, I kept him on for a little bit, and that behavior got repeated again and again and again. So, as a coach, you can tell that when your clients, like if they're bagging out other people, blah blah blah. If you're a client and you're looking to get a coach, if your coach is slagging off other coaches as well, like directly to you, saying I'd never fucking train with that person, they suck, it's probably a sign that they don't respond to text very early on, or they don't respond to communication. If they do it once and you go, all right, cool, it's a reasonable excuse, sick kid or whatever, great. But if you see it like happen more than once, that they're pretty much showing you exactly who they are at that point.
Yeah, totally.
So it's a quick litmus test, and I generally trust it a lot more now. As the older I get, the more I trust it.
Yeah, I get that one. So a couple of things obviously I'm going to do each podcast I do, I'm going to do debunking a few myths. So yep. Your opinion on women lifting weights and ending up being bulky, this whole myth of women shouldn't do weightlifting.
Well, I'm trying to get bulky and it's a really hard slog. I've been trying for years. Now, we could go from a science-based view, like women have like less than 10% of the testosterone a male has. Women can't recruit their fast twitch muscle fibers. They have different origins and insertions. The easiest thing I think to get across emotionally is to go to any female who is worried about it, go to any commercial gym at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night and look at all the skinny dudes who are working their asses off to try and get big. They have been doing it for 2 years and they haven't tried. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to succeed when you're trying actively to avoid it.
Well, I like that one, but I just use a client's picture of mine from when she first started to when I got her onto the Arnold stage.
They work very well. That's all.
There's 11 years and there's like some added secret sauce in all of that as well.
Yeah. And the transformation pics work really well too.
And it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to get big and bulky in a year. You're not going to get big and bulky in 2 years. More like double digits.
Yeah, it's double digits. And with special friends.
Yes, special sauce, I call it.
Yeah, special sauce definitely for females.
Yeah. So mindfulness with the quick fix. Now, obviously, coming out as of late, Ozempic, Manjaro, all these little secret sources that weight loss pens, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
A celebrity's doing it and looking like a bag of shit. It's not a quick fix, is it, mate?
No. So the drug group that you're talking about is GLP-1 agonists. For some populations, they're unreal. Like there's some very specific medical applications for that type of stuff, and I think they're great. Most people don't need them. And what it does, it actually takes away from people who really do need them. That's just more of like a personal moral thing around that. When you're doing a GLP-1, and the same thing applies to anabolic steroids, it applies to any medication. It generally means that you have to work harder at doing other stuff because of the side effects and the consequences of taking said medication.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you take anabolic steroids, every human being under the sun who's like had anabolics before thinks, oh, great, I'm going to grow muscle like a weed now. Well, you now can't drink as much because your liver is under stress from the anabolic, same with your kidneys. So you need to take care of that. You need to get regular blood work to make sure that you're not dying on the inside. With Ozempic and all those GLP-1 agonists, you need to increase your protein intake because your protein turnover increases from that. You need to do your resistance training because your protein intake has turned over as well. And there's a significant risk of muscle loss on GLP-1s. So you need to do weight training to maintain the muscle mass that you already have. Otherwise, your metabolism will slow to a halt. It won't slow to a total halt because you're on a suppressant, but your metabolism will slow down significantly. And you'll also have a decrease in quality of life because of decreased muscle mass. Like increased muscle mass is one of the main factors of predicting quality life over the lifespan, because if it's really hard to get out of a chair because you're so weak, your life sucks. It doesn't matter that you lost 5. You won't care about losing the 10 kilos or 20 kilos because you're too weak to enjoy it. So I think they're never a quick fix. I think they're an amazing class of drugs for a certain population. I think they'll certainly improve over time because that's what things do. But no, they're definitely not a quick fix, particularly if you've got to lose 5, 10 kilos.
Right. So what's your opinion? Obviously, there's loads of statistics coming out about it. Is that, say, for instance, you've lost 60% weight, okay?
Yep.
40, roughly they're saying between 40 and like 50% of that is basically base muscle mass loss over fat loss.
Yeah. So with those claims?
Yeah, their claims.
Yeah.
I personally think, if you've got someone who's, say, for instance, 20 stone, or 126, 130 kilos, right? Around there. If they're walking, talking, and they're like a big sandwich bag of fat, right? And you're going to rob, 60% of that weight off you, and they're staying, statistically, it's between 40 and 50% of that is muscle mass. Their muscle mass isn't going to be that much with carrying 120 kilos of weight around, and their BMI or their fat mass is like 40, 50 plus.
Yeah.
They're going to lose a lot of muscle.
Yeah, they'll definitely lose a lot of muscle if they don't do the behaviors I mentioned in the last question, like actually doing resistance training and all that kind of stuff. So the GLPs will lose a ton of muscle if you don't do behaviors to counteract that loss. That's from what I've seen from reading all the papers on it and seeing like client bases who do use it. The ones who actually, because you see a lot of the celebrities, particularly who take it when they're lean already, or not lean. They're not, I wouldn't say lean like bodybuilding lean. They're just light, right? And they look very gaunt, and they look like the Ariana Grande has certainly used those and pick and stuff like that, and she looks really gaunt and really skinny. She's lost too much muscle.
So is Adele. Adele is known as Adele's, the Adele drug.
Yeah, and she's lost the weight, and that's great. There's a whole bunch of benefits to losing weight, but if you're losing the muscle, those benefits shrink. So I think those drug categories, I think every drug category, like this is not really going to be limited to GLP-1s, every drug category needs education alongside how to actually do it properly,
Mm.
which
Oh,
is resistance training and have high protein.
100%, 100%. I don't disagree in someone using it, but there isn't the guidance to use it, and there isn't the accountability with it using it. It's like if, say,
Yeah.
for instance, a client, say, for instance, I said, like, Paul, I'm 130 kilos, which I'm not, and said, oh, mate, I need to lose like 50 kilos. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, I come and train with you. You know, I would, have your food plan, macros, whatever, planned macros, and I'm sure you're going to basically keep an eye on me and make me accountable to using it in the means it's supposed to be meant to be used. Does that make sense? Rather
Yeah.
than, I think a lot of people see it as the magic pen. I can still eat. It's going to force me to like not eat. I'm not. I'm going to lose all my appetite. It's going to suppress my cravings, and oh yeah, I can just sit there still and watch Netflix.
Yeah, that's the people who do that. It's the wrong approach to it, but we can't really change that, unfortunately. We can only educate the people that we work with.
Mm.
So they're certainly using wrong. So I agree with you there.
Yeah. So that's my point of that. And then obviously we've gone on from into A celebrities or celebrities. One of your favorites, I reckon, is the old fitness influencers and having this
I love
perfect
those guys.
life of what they show online. What you've worked with some, you've
Yes,
like,
I've.
you've mentored some, you've what's your opinion of it? For instance, we'll say we'll bring a celeb influencer, a well-known pommy influencer who's now living in my neck of the old woods, Mr. Bondi, Mr.
Yep.
James Smith.
Cool. So I'll break influencers down into a couple of different categories. James is, I'd say, he's one of the better ones out of all of them, because at least he offers some value to his audience, and like at least he's been open about his TRT use recently. Like he used it for a year before he was open about it, but he's open about it and uses his platform. So I don't think the James Smith's ones are the ones that he does sell the dream to people of like, it's easy to build an online business and you just get an email list. A little bit too much. I think the cancerous influencers, that's the word I like to use, are the ones who are just obsessed with having every single photo with their shirts off or with their boobs out. And their whole account is about them and how hot they look. And those influencers, from working with a lot of them, none of them live the life that they project. Okay. They don't have a client base. They're struggling for money and they get most of their fucking food paid for by whoring it out on Instagram about here's my Papa Macros meal. Please use my discount code because if you don't, I'm not going to eat this week. Which would probably make me look leaner anyway, but that's okay. And I know a lot of them they use a ton of drugs, which like neither here nor there, because like I work with bodybuilders who use a ton of drugs. They use a ton of Botox. Again, I've worked with a ton of models and stuff like that. So they use that. But they use that and then they say, just follow if it fits your macros, macro plan and my training program on the app where I give you no check-ins. That's where I just give you like a very generic program. You're going to look like me. I think they're a cancer to people. And it actually scares me that a lot of kids these days, as their aspirations for a job, are to be a YouTuber or an influencer. So, as an overall thing, there's a couple of good ones out there.
I,
Uh,
I can
by a
remember.
couple, I mean a couple.
Yeah, there's a very well
It's
known
like
female
three.
Australian. Well, actually, there's two. I could probably drop off my hat. One's probably about 5'9", lives in South Australia. Um, very very well known one. Um, I had a bit of a run in with her back in 2018 with a client I had who was all of 18 and had very bad history of being bulimic and anorexic, who had been living off 800 calories for 3 years. And suddenly she gets pays $1,800. Here's your plan, love. No worries. Thanks. looks at her food, and is now nearly tripled the amount of food. And she went into shock and started throwing up again and being sick and starving herself, all in the same process.
Yeah. And that's the cancerous part of influencers, because like the way their business models work is based on volume, not individualization. And like, say there are some people who do it well. So James Smith's online, or his affordable online coaching, whatever it's called, like for a standard person who's not super interested in fitness and just wants something to do, like better than just winging it, it's actually an okay product. It's actually okay. Would I recommend it if you want to get awesome results? Absolutely not. But it's not designed for that. The rest of the influencers who are like the cancerous ones, like the stuff they sell is just really gross, and there's no care for the people that are doing it. It's just like, how many sales can I get in? Because they generally have a low client lifetime value. They have a low cost per client, or sometimes they charge them obscene amount based on their perceived value. So like some of the steroid gurus are charging like $6,000 for a consult. Like, fuck, really?
Really?
Are
you breaking me?
Yeah, it's about that. It's like, here, do a baseline of testosterone, take some, and a little bit of the 5-DHT derivative like Master Primo, try a little bit of Deca and any of the 19 Nors if they're good, inject some carnitine, use insulin well, use 1-2 units of growth hormone. There you go. You got a great protocol. Cycle it up to the point where you can deal with it and then drop it down. There you go. $6,000. Like, it's not worth the money, but they use their influencership to get leverage on that. So I think that, paying for that money is a massive mistake, and people do it for two reasons. They want to be associated with said influencer, which is a mistake because most influencers don't want to look at you. They generally from all the ones I've met, they're quite awkward socially, and they don't like talking to people in real life because they crave all the attention online, all dopamine hits, but they hate the attention in real life because they have to actually be a human being, which is, quite challenging if you're used to being a mannequin. And it's a model and a way of living that I think is quite toxic, both for what they deliver and then also how they live and how they make
I fully understand where you're coming from on that. The other side of it is I really hate with influencers. Is look at me, this is what I'm actually doing, but it's not what they're actually doing. It's like there is this very famous female Australian, she's a WFF pro, I think now. I think you know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, blonde, about 5'5".
That's like all of them, but go on.
Yes, no, she's very well known in the bodybuilding world. And it's like, no, I'm nutty. There's no way in hell are you nutty. And she trained with Milos over in America for a while, and I know what he's like with his clients. He puts on a lot of stuff.
Milos is not shy with the stuff.
No, and we're not talking small doses, are we? We're talking big doses. Big doses. Like, yeah. Okay, we'll say there's a recent should we say Mr. Olympian who's now no longer with him. Minos had him on like a ruckload of Trent before the O about 3 years ago.
That does not surprise me in the least, eh? So yeah, it is toxic, but again, there will always be a grifter and someone trying to lie. There always will be. And it's just our job is to educate people to not do that.
Yeah. 100%. Hey, it's a little one. Well, Paul, mate, thanks very much for today. I'll let you go. Take up enough time.
You're most welcome.
Guys, girls, hope you enjoyed this podcast with Paul. Obviously, we're going to have him back again, and we're going to basically pick on some more topics. I think we might go down the old. We're going to pick Paul's brains on gear next time.
Sounds like a plan.
This guy is very, very knowledgeable on that. So, Paul, thanks very much, and I really appreciate it, and hope you guys out there do too, and we'll call it a day.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your time.
Not a problem. Thank you.